In this instance, it is helpful that that wider clip has come out, because I think it helps to dispel the idea, misinformation that has been put out by some, that this was an unprovoked vendetta by the police against those individuals. It does clearly show the man who was then the victim of the kick from the police officer as having behaved really reprehensibly in the lead up to the incident.
Another news story, though, that's important today and still very important. Police have rallied behind an officer who was suspended from duty after kicking a man at Manchester Airport following the release of fresh footage of the incident. You'll probably already know that incident sparked protests in Manchester and Rochdale, but this new video clip appears to reveal the lead up to the incident, showing two men attacking police officers, with a female officer being knocked to the ground. Lord Walney is the government's independent advisor on political violence and disruption. Lord Walney, good afternoon from us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So I'm just going to assume, obviously, that you have seen this new video clip. I don't know whether you've been privy to any other information that we might not yet have been privy to.
No, I haven't. And I think in this instance, it is helpful that that wider clip has come out, because I think it helps to dispel the idea, misinformation that has been put out by some, that this was an unprovoked vendetta by the police against those individuals. It does clearly show the man who was then the victim of the kick from the police officer as having behaved really reprehensibly in the lead up to the incident. And that doesn't change really probably whether the force that was used by the officer was disproportionate or not. It doesn't definitively change that, but it does show a wider context, which I hope will be helpful for those seeking to lower the tension in communities that has been created by this incident.
Yes, which so many people are trying to do, Lord Walney. I mean, the family of the victim is trying to do that. I believe, I mean, they've said publicly, haven't they, that they are concerned for the health and the well-being of the officer in question. But I think, have they also changed their legal representation too?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, and this is a moment for everyone involved to be focusing on the particulars of the investigation and observing due process. And I would have huge sympathy with the family if effectively that is what they want their legal representation to be doing, rather than effectively acting as a media spokesperson in a way that might inflame tensions. It's right that there is a formal process on this. I can understand why maybe police officers are perhaps trying to get their side of the story on behalf of a fellow officer, but I understand it. But I'm not sure ultimately that the repetition of and the continuation of this cycle through the media is what's going to be most effective now, to try and take the heat out of it and focus on the due process for the officer and the man who was kicked.
So you look at these things with a professional eye, and were tasked with trying to come up with some kind of legal framework around them. And this won't be the last time that one part of a video clip tells a story that perhaps a full video clip doesn't tell. So I wonder what your thoughts are about how we should all deal with these kind of things in future, because it's absolutely right, Lord Walney, that when something happens that is disturbing and sometimes completely goes against the nature of justice, you should be able to film it. You should be able to tell your story.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one's going to stop that. And we are all, I think, influenced. Certainly politicians can certainly be influenced by images that they see, which then turn out to be not the full picture. To an extent, that is always going to happen, and I think that if you look back over the years, there have been police forces and police officers who have, played something of a game in putting out partial information themselves. But I think all of this brings you towards really wanting the most transparency as possible in difficult incidents like this, and other areas, other countries that are perhaps quicker than the UK at the moment in routinely releasing body cam footage. That's one thing to look at, because you've got to have a process, but then understandably and inevitably tensions are going to be raised by incidents like this, and communications professionals will generally always say the more transparent information you can get out into the public domain in an official and a calm way tends to be helpful in bringing down the temperature, and that hopefully is what's going to happen in these circumstances.
We've only got a couple of moments because we want to cross live to the House of Commons at 3:30. But just a quick thought then on a way that this incident could have been handled differently. Are you saying that actually if the police had released more footage that they had sooner, we might not be talking in the way that we're talking today?
Well, they have been pretty fast in getting material out. It seems to have put a helpful context, but I'd like to see whether there is a process that is not relying on particular individuals or particular forces pushing a particular narrative, but a baseline that has a default to get as much as possible out into the public domain as quickly as possible, so that you don't have the conversation being led by a highly selective part of evidence, and you can see as full a picture as it's appropriate to do as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and thereby you would also be holding the police and other institutions to account, which obviously engenders trust too. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Lord Walney is the government's independent advisor on political violence and disruption.